So going into my fight with John Franchi in the WEC had to have been mentally my toughest fight. My very last day sparring, after the gloves were off, I was working out a little bit with a training partner, decided to go harder than we were supposed to, accidentally broke my hand. Greg asked me if I wanted to fight. I said yes, and he said, okay, let's do it. He was like, I want you to throw that punch as hard as you can. I do not want him to know it's hurt. In the second round, I broke my left hand. The only last thing for me to do was make sure I won. I ended up submitting him with 10 seconds left in the fight and got Fight of the Night honors. My name is Cub Swanson, and this is The Corner. My first fight was in Tijuana, Mexico. I fought a kid who eventually fought in the UFC as well, Shannon Gugerty. We went out, we both threw kicks, and he hit the inside of my knee and it was like paralyzing. And I buckled to my leg, and he jumped on my back, had a full body triangle and a rear naked choke locked in. And it's 30 seconds into the fight. He finished me, and I was just embarrassed.
It was 20 seconds. I'm like, man, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. I know he's a great athlete, but
I tried to get him not to do it, but he supported him at the same time.
Anybody you love, to see them take a hit, or it's just not a good place.
My family's like, so you're gonna give this up now? You're gonna move on? And that was just pissed me off really bad, it just made me want it even more.
he kept going, he worked harder, and hauled off 10 straight wins and beat that same guy that beat him.
The injuries are the hardest part about it mentally, about staying focused, working through them, working around them. I've had 8 broken hands, popped ribs, cracked sternum, had my whole left side of my face destroyed, popped my elbow numerous times, toes, fingers, tore my AC and my collarbone that isn't even attached to my shoulder. And just the wear and tear of it all, having a bad back, bad ankles, it takes a toll. I get angry when people tell me, oh, I could have been a UFC fighter, I could do that. And I just think about everything that it really takes and how hard it is, and I just laugh, and I'm just like, it's disrespectful to tell me that, because you don't know what it takes. Before I made my debut in the UFC, like I said, I had my cheekbone basically caved in, my orbital, my nasal were broke, and my upper jaw was pushed in, and all these teeth were flared in, and so I had to get an oral surgeon and a plastic surgeon to work on me at the same time, and one went in through my lip, the other one went in through my eye and repaired that. Put 3 plates, a few screws.
I think that was probably the hardest for me, to see my brother all wired up like that, I mean, it was hard to watch him go through that, but I mean, he made it out, and I mean, he just didn't give up.
It's hard to breathe. Feel breathe through my teeth. It was a pain in the ass.
I got to see him, having a drink through a straw and blending his food, but he was still training, He was still working hard. There was no downtime for him.
Training the mind. Feel like I'm suffocating.
When I was in my bed at night with my jaw wired shut, thinking, okay, when I decided I was going to come back from that, I thought about everything, the way I train, that I need to be more vocal about how I train with my coaches. We all need to be on the same page. My fighting style, my thoughts going into a fight, the way to mentally prepare for a fight, and just things like that. I revamped everything.
The ability for him to just move forward amazes me.
I was born here in Palm Springs, California. And when I was born, my father was already diagnosed with skin cancer. By the time I was 3-4 months old, he passed away. My mom had me and my 2 brothers and a daughter from before they were together. So she had 4 kids. I know she didn't take it very well. She had a real hard time.
I could see how devastated she was, you know, because it happened so suddenly.
At the time, it was best they felt to give me and my brothers up, and luckily we had some extended family.
My husband and Cub's dad were cousins, and Cub's mom and I were real close.
My lifestyle at the time was not good for them, so I decided to let her go ahead and have custody of them.
So at 3 years old, we call them my Uncle Tim and Shosh. It's my stepmom, stepdad. They took us in like their own, and they raised us for 10 years.
Their mom and I always stayed close friends, and she came to see them every 2 weeks, and we had birthdays together, and she was always close by.
I had 3 more children, and having the 3 girls and still trying to drink and do drugs wasn't working. Leanna, my youngest, has Down syndrome, and I knew that I couldn't have a handicapped child and be loaded all the time. So I stopped and became a responsible parent.
By the time I hit about 13, 14, my mom had been doing real well for a long time, and she wanted the opportunity for a long time to get us back. And I just felt like it was the right time for me personally. So me and my brothers moved back with my mom.
I think in my heart of hearts, I always knew at some point they would want to go back. So when they went back, it was horrible. I mean, for me, it was horrible. It was like having my arms cut off.
Yeah, I know it was very difficult for them when we left, but I didn't know at the time how much it hurt them.
As young boys, we were going to church twice a week. We were homeschooled. We were completely sheltered from outside life. So when it came to, 15, 16, we were like, girls? Oh, what's that? We exploded onto the scene. And after that, it just kept on going.
With everything that was going on, I just kind of was in a rebellious stage, and I just followed my brother's footsteps and got into tons of trouble, and it was fun.
Going somewhere and coming back and finding out that they'd had this huge party in my house and flooded the whole house.
The house flooded, the refrigerator broke, both bathrooms were not usable.
Then things that I didn't know until now, till they're telling all the stories of what they did and how dangerous things were, it was hard.
I ended up going to juvenile hall because my personality is like, if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it all the way. So I was one of the craziest ones. That gave me a lot of time to sit there and just think about how I got there, what I needed to change. And that's kind of what makes me a fighter too, is my ability to see a problem and figure a way to beat it or fix it.
Without that happening, he would have been a different person doing something completely different.
I just knew that life wasn't really me.
Something was different, like you kind of see that the lights came on, that he finally had realized that he, the road he was going isn't going where he wanted, and he was willing to make some changes.
When I got out of juvenile hall, I knew I needed some form of competition. I needed structure, I needed competition, I needed that. I found jiu-jitsu randomly. I knew nothing about it. I thought it was like Taekwondo. So I went with my buddies that I was training jiu-jitsu with, and we went and saw King of the Cage. It was my first live event. Seeing the talent there, it wasn't as good as the UFC. It seemed a little bit more realistic that I could pull that off. I thought to myself, man, I could do that. That's the kind of test I need to give myself, something to work towards. And it seemed crazy to me because nobody where I'm from was doing it. With me getting into trouble, it really wasn't wanting to hurt anybody or really do anything like that. It was just wanting to do something different. And I felt like MMA was that. It's a respectable way to rebel. So I train both here in Palm Springs, California, and in Albuquerque, New Mexico. During camp, I go back and forth like every 2 weeks. Normal day training for me is different every day. I try to mix it up.
Well, Cub Swanson came into this gym just to learn the fundamentals of boxing. We started working together. It was a little hard at the beginning because the work he was doing as far as his kicking, his Muay Thai, and Jiu-Jitsu, combining everything together. Now we're gonna start a different procedure, which is boxing.
The activity that you're doing in the gym, you're very consistent, you're moving really good, angles are fucking good, your punching is really good.
There's actually fighters that really wanna learn, they're determined to learn, and they're determined to take the step ahead, and he's one of them.
I do conditioning, I do all these strength training, agility training, and I try to get my body up to a peak.
The TRX band is an amazing piece of machinery for working. It's just a strap on a wall. But we use it for the red muscle fiber for the lunge, but we throw the Busu ball under it for the unbalance, for the fast twitch white muscle fiber. So not only having the power, he's having the speed of the coordination of the balance. Then we did like the static type movements for the Superman. So it's a full entire core exercise. The foot speed for bouncing through the bags and the explosiveness. And then just the overall fatigue on the box jump side to side is that explosive power to stop, explosive power to stop. A lot of eye-hand coordination. Just we want to keep his hands and his head speed really fast.
I set my whole training schedule around doing what I feel needs to be done to be at my peak.
He's always the first one to get in the gym, the last one to leave. Even after a fight, I mean, even a week after the fight, this kid's back in the gym training, man. And you know, that shows the type of determination he has and the will that he has, and I admire that, man.
My recent string of wins is everything coming together. It's mental, it's physical, you know, it's just me being confident.
The last year and a half, 2 years have been really good in his career. And he is still the frugal Cub that he was 5 years ago when the money wasn't coming in. You know, he's got that car outside that hasn't had air conditioning for 2 years. And he could very easily go and fix it because he has plenty of money, but he chooses not to. And I was talking to him a couple weeks ago and I was like, so you're gonna get that air fixed this summer? It's starting to get hot. And he looked at me and laughed. He said, I just bought the house. I said, I'm not gonna fix the air. And I was like, why not? He's like, you know what, man? It still keeps me humble.
I refuse to be pampered, you know. I gotta work hard and I'm not there yet. I'll drive the same car, you know, eventually I'll get a nice one, but right now I got bigger things on my mind, you know. Like, I was able to buy a house, and if I would have bought a new car or put too much money into that car, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. I just had enough. I have to trust myself in these kind of scenarios, and I've learned that.
I am very, very proud of Cub. I'm proud of him that he's not materialistic, but yet he wants to have the stability of having a home and a decent investment. And he's just a disciplined guy, not only in his training, but with his finances, with his relationships. He's very disciplined.
I saw everything that's happening right now with buying a house and being successful. I saw it so many times. It was a dream I wouldn't let go of. And because I wouldn't let go of it, that's why it's happening.
The way that he was raised and grew up, and then some of the decisions that he made, you know, a lot of people wouldn't think he'd be where he is today doing the things he's doing. You know, it just goes to show you that no matter who you are, what you come from, what you have or don't have, if you have determination and you're, you know, motivated, you can pretty much accomplish whatever you want.
I'm glad that he's happy with himself, and he knows who he is, he knows what he wants. So in that aspect, I'm very proud of him and happy for him.
The sky's the limit for him. If he uses the work ethic that he uses on a daily basis for his training, I mean, there's no limits.
No matter what, I chose this, and whether I knew that this was going to come with it, I'm a role model.
Cub is surely an example of hard work and dedication and never giving up on yourself. That's Cub Swanson, man. When you hear that name, that's what you should think about. Hard work, dedication, and never giving up on yourself. And Cub Swanson has that. And that's why I know he's gonna go far in this business, and that's why I know he's gonna be a champion.
My goal is about being the best fighter that I can possibly be. That's always been my goal. And it's not about a belt. It's not about any of that. That stuff will come if I am as good as I think I am and if I reach my full potential.
Sipping from your cup till it runneth over. Holy grail.
Blue told me remind you niggas. Fuck that shit y'all talking about. I'm the nigga.
I think box is #1 sport in Kazakhstan. A lot of people going to gym just like box. Just United States like basketball, baseball.
Fight. He finished me and I was just embarrassed.
It was like 20 seconds. I'm like, man, maybe you shouldn't be doing this. I know he's a great athlete, but
I tried to get him not to do it, but he supported him at the same time.
Anybody you love, to see them take a hit, or it's just not a good place.
My family's like, so you're gonna get... My first fight was in Tijuana, Mexico. I fought a kid who eventually fought in the UFC as well, Shannon Gugerty. We went out, we both threw kicks, and he hit the inside of my knee and like it was like paralyzing. And I buckled to my leg and he like jumped on my back, had a full body triangle and a rear naked choke locked in. And it's like 30 seconds into give this up now? You're gonna move on? And that was just like, pissed me off really bad, you know, it just made me want it even more.
he kept going, he worked harder, and hauled off 10 straight wins and beat that same guy that beat him.
The injuries are the hardest part about it mentally, about staying focused, working through them, working around them. You know, So going into my fight with John Franchi in the WEC had to have been mentally my toughest fight. My very last day sparring, after the gloves were off, I was working out a little bit with a training partner, decided to go harder than we were supposed to, accidentally broke my hand. Greg asked me if I wanted to fight. I said yes, and he said, okay, let's do it. He was like, I want you to throw that punch as hard as you can. I do not want him to know it's hurt. In the second round, I broke my left hand. The only last thing for me to do was make sure I won. I ended up submitting him with 10 seconds left in the fight and got Fight of the Night honors. My name is Cub Swanson, and this is The Corner.